Welcome to Everything Life Coaching. I'm John Kim.
And I'm Noelle Cordeaux. We are the founders of Lumia.
And we're super passionate about all things coaching, and we want to share what we've learned from over a decade of coaching and training thousands of life coaches.
Let's dive into the science and magic of coaching.
Welcome to Everything Life Coaching. We hope our time together today can serve as a companion for coaches and coaches in training as they strike out into the world to create ripples of impact. And to that end, I have with me a very special guest today, Jason Moss, a longtime entrepreneur, business coach, and deep friend of Lumia Coaching. Jason, welcome. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here and can't wait to share with your community.
Yes. Well, let's orient everyone to who you are in the world. I'm obsessed with your background. It combines all of my favorite things: music, entrepreneurship, and coaching. Please give us the scoop. Who are you? How did you get to where you are?
Yeah. Well, I, to be honest, I don't know that I ever woke up one day and said, I'm a coach. It's been this strange, weird twist and turning journey that really started in music and my background and my education. I went to college, studied music, and I growing up had a big passion for music. And so my real desire was like growing up, I was like, I had the vision of becoming like another John Mayer, the next John Mayer. I was like the hard on the sleeve, sensitive guy who would, I was always like coaching people, but it was like my friends would come over and they'd sit on my couch in the garage and we'd have like heart to heart conversations and I'd try to help them solve the problems in their life. And so it was really something that was just a passion for me on the side. And I had this vision of moving forward in the music industry and spent some time as an audio engineer. And then coming out of school, one of the biggest entry points really for me into the coaching world was just wanting to share this knowledge, these things that I learned about how to record music and how to help other musicians. And so I didn't even think of it so much as coaching. It was more like, I just have this knowledge I want to share with the world. I know that I can help people with this. So I started this website called Behind the Speakers. This was all the way back in 2016. And this turned into this really fun ride where 5-6 years, I built this, 6-figure business helping musicians, thousands of musicians over the world. And it was really like my first entry point into the world of coaching and getting to connect with people and getting to help people through these challenges that they were going through with their music journeys and careers. And so that was really my entry point into the coaching world. And after doing that for 5-6 years and learning so much about online marketing and how to grow a business and so many of the things that I think honestly, for many coaches, who have the skills and the knowledge and the expertise and the experience to really coach people, but on the marketing side, they're like, where do I start with this? Or I just feel like, how do I actually get myself out there or connect with clients? Or these are big missing pieces for so many people. I decided to take all of that knowledge and then turn it into a business as a business coach, helping other coaches. So that is what I do today. And I have the great privilege of getting to support thousands of incredible coaches all over the world in every niche imaginable and helping them really master the keys to marketing and how to communicate online and connect with clients and grow their businesses and do it in a way that really is heart-centered and is aligned for them on a personal level so that they can enjoy the day-to-day process of actually growing their business and get to work with incredible people and change lives through the work that they do.
You're a better version of John Mayer.
Thank you.
This is much better.
Well, that made my day. I'll take that one. I'll take that one with me.
Well, thank you for the work that you do. As we train coaches at Lumia, one of the things that I see all the time is just raw talent. Heart-centered, impact-driven messages. Folks come in with their why. A big focus of our program is really honing their story. And I like to think about it like, your voice, your brand voice, your marketing is your lighthouse. And then when you're in session, you use your coaching skills as a flashlight. So it's this juxtaposition. And I know that so many folks approach this idea of putting their voices out into the world, myself included. It's been such a long journey for me, and I'm 16 years into this space with so much fear. And the fear has just incredibly deep roots. As you think about this and you think about the people in your community, the people that you help, you know, where can we pull from in terms of our values, in terms of the impact to start overcoming that fear?
Yeah, it's such a great question. And it's really the underpinning of the entire journey for so many people. And it's something that I don't think enough people are talking about, especially business coaches like me, because you go on, our feeds and it's like all success stories. And, we try to make the journey look as glamorous as possible and as easy as possible because, in many cases, that's what sells coaching. The truth is, it's a messy journey. And particularly for folks who are coming from the 9 to 5 world, transitioning out of corporate jobs, which a lot of the clients that I work with, it's a journey of like a massive reinvention of self. And so, of course, like and so much of the work that I do on a deeper level is about helping folks navigate this identity shift, stepping into the identity of becoming a six-figure coach, or navigating the journey of stepping into entrepreneurship or growing a business. And in every stage, there's really this like identity shift that happens, where it's like a letting go of an old self and stepping into a new self. And that journey, that navigation is like fear central. There's so much fear comes up along that ride. And so in terms of, tools and what to pull on, I think there's a couple of things that I've seen to be helpful. I know for me, just on a personal level, number one is just like really anchoring in again and again and again and again and again and again and again to why. Like, why am I doing this? Why? And having that really being like the driving force. Like, I have a big vision. I want to impact the lives of thousands and thousands of people through this work. And it's very easy, like when you're in, talk about this, like this is the key to sales often too. It's like when we're afraid to sell, fear around selling. Oftentimes it comes from this very like self-focused place. It's like, I'm afraid if I show up and start talking about what I do, people are going to feel like I'm being pushy and salesy. It's a very like me focused place. And generally fear is like, it comes from like a preoccupation with self. So when you can start to like shift your focus to what is the vision, what is the way that I want to serve, what is the way that I want to impact, it helps you get out of the way. And that fear, it doesn't go away. There's no magic hack to make it go away. I think it's more like, it softens that voice a little bit when you're more in that other focused mindset. And then on the deeper level, I think a lot of this is just being able to like get comfortable being uncomfortable. Every single day, I feel scared. We're navigating like a major, massive, change the last few months in our business. Have been like a complete radical reinvention of everything I've been doing, massive shift. And every day I wake up and it's this dance between faith and fear. And some days I feel more rooted in like, hey, everything's going to work. And some days I'm like, what the heck am I doing here? Everything feels like it's falling apart. And so the journey for me as an entrepreneur, because I've been building businesses most of my life at this point, has been more like, how do I just get comfortable being uncomfortable and allowing that fear to be there and opening to it and not trying to resist it, but just allowing it to be that voice that's kind of along for the ride. And I'm a big fan of, parts work, and these therapeutic modalities that have allowed me to meet those places and parts within myself with compassion and love and understanding. And just to be able to tell myself like, hey, it's okay to be afraid. Like, you're doing big, bold things. And like, I appreciate you. I see you. And I'm going to do what I know I want to do. And like, you're welcome to be here. Like, you're along for the ride, and that's totally okay. And just that way of like working with ourselves and being able to meet the fear without being driven by it, that's been a practice for me. And it's something that with a lot of the clients that I work with too, it's like, how are we relating to the fear? What's is it like, I feel afraid and then I'm going to, not go on and do the Instagram live because I'm afraid, no one's going to show up? Or is it like, I'm afraid and I'm going to sit with the fear and be with myself for 5 minutes and then show up and actually do the thing? And that daily practice, I think, is a lot of what it takes, like on a ground floor level. It's not glamorous, but it's so important and so necessary as a part of the journey when it comes to growing a successful business.
Yeah, I agree. I agree so hard. And I love that we're normalizing that discomfort over the progression of a coaching career. You're right, it changes. I entered coaching from a space of academia. And academia is very cloistered. You know, you have you're a citation when you publish and put yourself out there. Um, and then, you know, stepping into a space of coaching, my first ever coaching profile picture, I had sunglasses on. So I was so scared to literally show my face. I remember the first time I wrote my story about using positive psychology and coaching to overcome eating disorders, and I published it. My mother Googled it and cornered me in the bathroom at a family gathering. It was like, how could you put this, you know, out there into the world? And so you deal with the interpersonal challenges, you know, you deal with the influences of whatever path you're stepping away from. And then, you know, thinking too about career progression. I'm similar to you. I consider myself a really seasoned entrepreneur. And um, I'm now dealing with bigger challenges like writing as a contributor for major magazine publications. And, you know, what does that mean to me in terms of my visibility in my everyday life? And so um, I share all of this to give folks touchstones along the way in terms of what they can realistically expect and also look forward to. That, you know, I'm no longer scared of my mother reading my work. and, and I no longer wear sunglasses. I wear my regular glasses when I'm on camera, when I'm on video. Um, I think too, you know, one of the things that I find with coaches when they're early in their career is that there's a little bit of a hesitancy around coaching being enough. And that's something I share with my students at Lumia all the time is that you are trained, you're highly trained as a strategic facilitator. It's an art and science. And it's not only enough to say that you're a coach, but it's important to say that you're a coach because that's what you are. That's what you do. And that's your craft. Can you share a little bit about what you love about coaching, what you notice about the impact of coaching, and why you chose to work with coaches as your focus?
I think coaches are like the best people in the world. Like if I had a choice to like all my friends are coaches, I'm like, who would I hang out with just as friends? It would be coaches. I mean, when I started working with coaches, my partner, Kimberly, was actually going through the journey of launching her coaching business. She was a therapist that was transitioning into the coaching world and walking, through that journey with her because I had the business background and I was like, okay, here's, how you set up your website and do your marketing and all this stuff. But what became very clear to me through watching her and also just through like really immersing myself in the coaching industry that I've, now become a really core part of my life is, the potential that we have through coaching is literally staggering. Like the impact that's possible through this work that we do to be able to help someone uncover ways of thinking and patterns that literally have been in many cases like running their lives for decades, and to be able in one session to be able to like tease something out and that will literally change the course of not only their life but the lives of their kids and their family and the people that they have in their community. The impact that's possible through that is unbelievable. And it's one of the things I love most about like working with coaches is because I get to see these coaches in our community and our programs building these wildly successful businesses, and then they get to go out and change the lives of thousands and thousands of people as a result. We get to have this incredible ripple effect in the world. So that's why I love working with coaches on a deep level. Like what my real mission is to help elevate the consciousness of the planet. And I think that coaching, like that is how we do that. We can help people shift out of fear and into more, resourceful, abundant states. We can on a ground level really do the work that I think is so important and so necessary in our world. So many of the challenges that we face in our world today, whether it's, global warming or whether it's the conflict that we're going through, the wars that we're experiencing, they're rooted in a state of consciousness. They're rooted in fear. They're rooted in ways and patterns of thinking that create these external circumstances. So to me, the real work is like helping and also doing the work on myself to shift those internal mindsets. And so coaching to me is like that's the technology for that. Like that's how we get to create that shift in the world. And so there's nothing more meaningful to me than that, and getting to see people do that work and also just change like on a deep level. I mean, I think, one of the biggest things that I hear from clients I work with, and also I know for me, is like when you get on a call with someone and just create that like breakthrough moment, co-create that with them, and you can just see their eyes light up, and there's that experience of like, oh, I'm seeing something I haven't seen before. Like there's some magic in that moment that's possible. I live for those moments, and I think so many of the coaches I work with feel the same, and we get to do that work. Like, how cool is it that's a job? That's something you actually get to like be paid for. It's there are days I wake up and I'm like, I can't even believe I get to do this. It just feels like a dream. And that's not to say it isn't challenging in times, and it hasn't been a lot of hard work too, but it's the best job I've ever had. And so I'm incredibly grateful for it, and just the possibility that we all have through the work that we do as coaches.
Oh, indeed. Indeed. And I think we're two sides of the same coin. At Lumia, our mission is to train impact driven coaches, get them their certificate if they wish to go on for the ICF credential, sharpening their skills, edging into the marketplace in a broader capacity. And, through that work, it's really centering the individuals who are themselves the change makers who are out in the world. And what you described of impacting the global consciousness, one heart and mind at a time. I think for me, that comes down to fostering self efficacy in our clients, the belief that if you don't readily know how to enact the change that you want to make, you certainly have the capacity to learn. You certainly have the capacity to grow. You certainly have the capacity to find out what your strengths and talents are. And then bridging back to that coach practitioner who's the catalyst. You know, there's so much that needs to be done by the time they get to you in the business building segment of their careers to hone in on, how do I create psychological safety for myself as a change maker? How do I harness bravery as an impact driven coach? And in a lot of ways, you mentioned heart centered action and values as really coming to the fore, kind of as an anchor for this. Can you talk a little bit about the relationship between heart centered language, speaking, messaging, impact, and how that can really sustain us in our work?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I love what you said about bravery and the self-efficacy. It's leadership to me is demonstration, and as coaches, that like we really what we offer is who we are, like on the deepest level. And so to me, like that is the work. I work on myself, and my business gets to be in the client, work that I do is really like it's a vehicle for that in many ways. And that being the primary thing. And then the work that you do with clients is a natural extension of that. I think it's really powerful, and it's a important lens to hold like through this journey and process. Because we can't really take someone beyond where we've gone. And so you doing that work yourself and being the person who can develop the bravery and the courage and the self-efficacy and everything that you just shared. And I love that this is such a big part of what y'all do, because it's so important. It's the most important. The business is secondary to and once you have those pieces in place, it becomes so much easier to attract clients, to be able to really stand out, because who you are speaks so much louder than the words you use or what you put on a sales page. And when people feel that energy from you, there's something magic that is happening through that journey and process. But to your question about what was your question? I forget. I'm gonna send it back to you.
As we're thinking about what it takes, I think really what it takes for a coach to move into a position where they are harnessing their authentic self, for the purpose of bridging out into the world to create their impact, that identity, that identity piece doesn't come naturally to folks. It's work. And so, what do we need to know about our values? What do we need to know about who we are as impact driven coaches in order to make the connection between our identity, our brand voice, and messages to our future clients?
Yeah, it's a great question. Identity is probably 80% of the success of growing a business. And when I say identity, what I really mean is how you see yourself, who you are, your beliefs. Values is definitely a piece of this as well. And really being able to create alignment and congruence between the internal and the external on a deep level is what it is. Like the life that you have today is a perfect reflection for who you believe yourself to be. And so when I'm helping coaches grow businesses and people hire me because they want to reach a new level of income or sign more clients, a lot of this comes back to looking at that identity piece as the primary foundational step and saying, how can we create alignment between who you are and what you're wanting to create on the outside? So on a practical level, in my day-to-day journey as a business coach, last year we did about 500,000 in sales, and we're kind of in that stage where we're scaling to 7 figures right now. And I got very comfortable, at the stage that we were last year, and everything was kind of working, and it was like I was kind of doing the same things, and there was a period of stasis. And this is normal in business. There's periods of like, you're kind of plateauing out, and then there's periods where you leap into like the next stage of your evolution, and there's a lot of identity shifting that happens there, a lot of like falling away of the old and making space for the new. And so a couple months ago, I woke up and I was like, okay, it's time. Like I feel it. I'm ready. Being called to the next thing. Feel scared. I don't know what that's going to look like. But let me say yes to that. And let me start living into what that new identity is before it showed up in my outside world. So on a practical level, what that looks like for me is I wake up every day and I ask myself, how would I lead my day as a 7-figure coach? And I live in that question. And so, we were talking before we started recording, like we're in the midst of a move right now where we were living in Denver. And at the end of this month, we're moving into a place that's 3 times the rent that we're paying right now. Before I have the income to actually be able to support that, my ego's like, are you nuts? But that's a 7-figure coach decision. It's not a, 500K a year coach decision. We cut a big percentage of our business like recently. We stopped working with a certain clientele that we don't want to work with anymore. Basically, these were decisions that were rooted in me asking myself, like, what kind of client would I work with if I was making 7 figures? Completely different messaging. I've made personally like a ton of investments in mentorship and coaching based on where I'm headed, not based on where I am today. So this identity question to me is like, okay, well, what do you want to create? And then live in that question of like, how would you show up as if you were that thing? It's a hard, challenging thing to do. And most people, it's like it sounds good on paper, but when you actually apply it, it's like, oh, this is painful. This is hard. This feels stretchy. This feels like putting on a suit that doesn't really fit. But what I've learned through my journey of entrepreneurship is that you be the thing. It's really what it is. It's like when I had no clients as a coach, I would show up in my market. I'd be writing these posts like, hey, when I work with, clients on XYZ, I was playing the coach before I actually even was the coach. And that was how things started moving and happening. And suddenly I woke up 2 years later. I was like, wow, I got a calendar filled with clients. It was suddenly, it just felt like it happened. So a lot of people are waiting for the outside to change before they do. And it's like, okay, if I don't have the clients I want, or I don't have the business I want, that means that, I can't be the thing. And my invitation is like, you are the thing. Like you decide you're the thing, and then you create the business that you want as a result. The outside world is always matching the inside. So that on an identity level is, I think, a big part of it. And then I'll pass it back to you, and I can definitely talk about the heart-centered piece as well.
One of the things that I love about coaching is that, all of the fears that we experience as a coach, all of the work that we ourselves have to do as coaches in order to meet our own personal goals mirrors the work that our clients do. So as I was listening to you, what was coming up for me is like, this is hardcore future visioning. This is following the science of future visioning that, it used to be that you could write about it, you could create a vision board. And now a lot of the more complex science is telling us that you really need to immerse yourself in your future vision, to do a 360, to take sometimes up to 2 weeks really living inside that future vision in order to internalize it and have it kind of like be a part of your being. And then another thing that we know from the art and science of coaching is that other people matter. Who you surround yourself with matters. The motivation matters. You said you've invested in a lot of coaching and mentorship yourself. And we see in Lumia that a lot of folks who are established coaches themselves come back and go through our coach training program for a skills deepening, a skills tune up, but also for the community, for the mentorship, for the camaraderie, to be within an organization of other income driven professionals who genuinely help each other on the path. And you talk a lot about the importance of personal growth and development. How does that play into the journey?
Yeah, for sure. Well, the first thing I'll say is like whenever I hear a business coach talk about this, I'm like, oh yeah, of course they're just trying to sell me something. And this has been such a huge game changer for me. And I would be lying if I said it wasn't. And so setting aside the obvious bias that I have around wanting, people to work with me and join our community, and obviously we probably both feel that way. The truth is like it's been such a huge game changer for me, and there's no way I would be where I am today without the mentors and the guides and the communities and being surrounded by people who have dramatically changed the game for me and helped me really anchor into like the next level of my growth at every step of the way. So I'm a huge fan of investing in mentorship and programs. I've invested at least $200,000 into hiring different coaches, masterminds, anything I can get my hands on. I'm like, I just need to be like in spaces where people who are doing really amazing things are showing up. And in early memory that I, have that really illustrates, I think the power of this is, when I was probably a year or two into starting out as a coach back in 2016, I ended up, it was the days when I had an email list, but it was like 2 people would sign up a day, and I would get so excited whenever the people would come. So every day I was on MailChimp, searching for the people who were new. And I was like, who are these people? And I would Google them and I'd be like, oh, this is so cool. All these random strangers on the internet. And one day I saw this guy, his name was Rob, and I saw he had a website. And so I went to his website and I was like, oh, this guy's doing something like very similar to me. Like we're both helping musicians. We're both kind of in the same space. So I reached out to him and I was like, hey, do you want to like hop on Skype or something? This was before we had Zoom, before the pandemic changed the world. And so we ended up connecting. We became very good friends. And over the next 5-6 years, we would, connect every week and we'd do these mastermind calls. And I learned more about what he was doing in his business. And I watched him go from making a couple $1,000s a month as a coach to running a $3 million coaching business, and ended up actually leading his sales team for about a year. And through that journey, just being with, surrounded by one person, this was before I was really like heavily investing in masterminds and programs and communities and really like I hadn't fully drunk the Kool-Aid yet. But just through that one connection and that one friendship, I think one of the biggest things for me was just normalizing that level of success and realizing, oh, this is someone who I like, who's no different than me. I think that's one of the powerful things about community is when you get in spaces like this and you connect with people, you're like, oh, these people are just like, they have just as many fears. They have just as many doubts. They're just as like scattered and like all of the things that I think like make it so that I can't actually do this, that like they have those things too. And I think again and again and again, being in spaces like that, and anytime I have the opportunity to, go to like I'm going to Napa in a couple weeks for like a 2-day mastermind thing with a small group of coaches. I'm so pumped because anytime I get in the room with people, at a really high level who are doing amazing things, it just changes the game. And it's been some of the most transformative experiences of my life. So from the obvious bias as a business coach, it's been yeah, I can't speak highly enough about community and the value of it.
Yeah, and let me back your bias up with science, right? Because this is part and parcel of what we know from the impact of evidence-based coaching and positive psychology, right? When we're looking at um, the science behind self-efficacy, having role models, having a cheerleader, having connection to others, having that energy being inspired by other people who are doing hard things does have a psychological and chemical impact on us that allows our brain to build forward with neuroplasticity, making connections that have never been made before. Just as you said, you really internalized that your friend was just like you and that there was no reason why you could not have this level of success that has a direct correlation to proximity. And that's one of the things that we know in coaching is when someone wants to accomplish a goal, one of the first things that I always ask as a coach is like, okay, who are your role models? Who has done this before you? Who do you want to hold up as the pinnacle of achievement for yourself? Um, and this raises a question for me. So many times I see really talented people scared of success and really crippled by fear, not only of putting themselves out there, but I think it's actually deeper. I think there's a fear regarding money, success, um, power, prestige, and growing to become a $3 million coach, growing to your business to a place where you have your own sales team. Um, I've felt it and experienced it for myself. I've watched some of my colleagues who are incredibly successful go through that very same journey. And one of my really good friends once said to me when I was struggling with very much the same thing, Noelle, money is energy, and good people wield energy in a really important way in the world. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about the fear monster. Let's talk about the world. Let's talk about, because coaching is an emerging discipline. Coaching is the discipline of hope. Coaching is the discipline of our future. And we need folks to get over this so that they can do the work.
100%. Man, there's so much to say on this. I don't even know where to begin, but I'll start with probably some of the common blocks that I see, and it's super common. Like I love. There's a Marianne Williamson quote that talks about like what we're really afraid of is not our darkness, but our light. Something like that. It's like we're afraid to shine. We're afraid to step into the most expansive version of ourselves and afraid of what that might mean. And there are so many different ways that comes up as like an upper limit on the journey of growing a business. And as a coach, ton of stuff around money for sure. It's a big piece. Like looking at money beliefs around, okay, like do I feel like having money, if I make more money, that means that I'm somehow taking advantage of other people, or that means that I am greedy, or it means that oftentimes there's a fear of like, what are the people I love going to think? We're afraid of losing belonging. So it's like, okay, are my friends that, connect with me on a certain level of income today, like that we've kind of connected based on, sometimes it's like you have kind of like a bond that you form with other people based on like complaining about not having enough, or like maybe you get love from your family, your parents, through like there's this way of communicating with other people that's more about like, we don't have X or we can't afford X. And so it creates this fear where it's like, okay, if I suddenly start making more money, like if I had more than I needed, if I had abundance, what would that mean for the people that I love? Would that mean that I would lose belonging? And so there's a lot of it comes back to there's a deep fear around that. So a lot of the works, particularly around, income growth is around addressing some of those like deeper fears, loss of belonging, reframing like what money is. And I love what you said about money being just a form of energy, because it is this, it's a currency, it's a form of energy, and we make it mean all sorts of things. And so looking at the meaning that we attribute to money is a really powerful part of like reclaiming that relationship that you have to money. And so if there's a negative belief around money, there's this kind of, I describe it as like you got one foot on the gas pedal, one foot on the brake. It's like there's a part of you that wants more money. There's a part of you that wants to grow the business or impact more people. Then there's another part of you that's like holding back. Your subconscious is like trying to protect you. It's trying to keep you safe. So if you think on some level like more clients or more income or more growth is going to bring you pain on some level, then your subconscious mind will protect you from that. So money beliefs for sure. A lot of people are particularly around like scaling a business. There's a lot of stuff that comes up around responsibility and what that means, taking on all these clients. And so a lot of this is like on a deeper level, it's looking at like the relationship that you have with your clients and where are you like holding on to a sense of ownership around their experience and their journey, what I would call like the savior complex, or we get in the kind of like victim triangle, victim savior complex triangle. I forget what it's called, where it's like, sometimes like people will build a business feeling like they need to save people because it's like I get my worthiness through feeling like I'm dragging these people up the mountain. And so particularly as you scale, it becomes like, how do I let go of that attachment around someone else's experience, and how do I step into this role of like the guide or the mentor where I'm providing resources and tools and insights without this sense of like gripping around what someone does with those things and the journey that that person takes. And so releasing like a responsibility for someone's outcome or results, and reframing the way we think about that, so that we can kind of step more into this like empowered leadership role and hold more energy, because so much of growth in a business is about being able to flow with higher and higher levels of energy, without kind of clogging up the pipes with all of these limiting beliefs and these kind of ways that we kind of hold on. Man, so many more things I could talk about too on this point. There's just like so many patterns that come up in so many of these deeper beliefs. And it's really, I get so much joy out of like uncovering them, both in myself as well as in others, because it's rarely about the strategy. It's on a deeper level. For most folks, it's really like how are we getting in the way? And I think of it like it's like a business that wants to grow. Like life is always growing. Like the nature of life is to grow, to expand, to become more. And my job in terms of like the relationship that I have with my business and my clients is to look at all the ways I'm like blocking that flow and getting in the way of that flow versus trying to make something happen. It's more like, how do I just get out of the way and let the natural expansion and growth of what needs to happen kind of unfold? And so that's, in a nutshell, I think a lot of what comes up, particularly around the fear and as we kind of claim higher and higher levels of the journey.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that metaphor aligning with nature is one of my favorite things to do in coaching. I usually employ it when we're looking at kind of like the destructive nature of growth. Like the seed spontaneously combusts, muscles have to tear before they build the scar tissue that solidifies them. Forest fires create, new growth. So there is that natural rupturing. And you're also right that there is a natural flowing that comes through abundance when we harness it properly. A couple of things came to mind when I was listening to you, and they're like two quotes that I quote myself all the time to my students. One is, your own life can be a dumpster fire and you can still be good at your job. And then the other one is, if not you, then who? If not you, then who? And so I'm going to pose those two sentences and see what you think.
I love that, and it speaks to like a fear that comes up for so many coaches, which is this imposter syndrome. This like, who am I to do this? Or I'm not qualified enough. Or if I'm not fully embodied in the transformation that I'm wanting to take other people through, does that mean that I'm not qualified to do this? So many things that come up for so many folks, and they come up at all stages in the journey as you scale, as you start working with higher level clients, as well as coaches who are just getting started and working on signing their first few clients. I love what you said about this, and I'll build on this by saying, it's one of the things that I often tell people is like the fact that you're what you maybe say is a dumpster fire. It's like the fact that you're still in the messiness of whatever your transformation is. Not only does that make you not disqualify you, but it actually makes you uniquely qualified because you're in it. Your insights are fresh. Like people, I don't want to work with someone who's like some fully realized person. I want to work with a person who, when I see them, they both show me what's possible, but they also feel like they're close enough to where I am that there's a feeling of like, oh, this person's human. Like I can do this too. And so there's like an authenticity and a relatability that comes from not the like person who has it all figured out. I think that's very like old guard, maybe like 10 years ago, like the way marketing was presented as like, you got to be the guru or the expert or the person who's like on the mountaintop espousing wisdom down to your like servant followers. I don't see it like that at all. I see it like, we're both on this journey and I get to show up as my authentic self and I get to be committed to this vision or this identity that I'm anchoring into more and more fully every day. And that doesn't mean that I need to be perfect. And as a matter of fact, the more that I can show people the vulnerability, the messiness, the parts of myself that I'm afraid to share, the more that that creates deeper connections and relationships and opportunities for people to feel really seen and to feel like what they want to do is possible too, because it doesn't look like some plastic, not real thing that's like makes me feel like it's unattainable to me.
Yeah. And that's where we pull from empathy, right? That's where we pull from empathy for our clients. And they're really great example. My dog George, he's 13 years old. He's asleep on the couch. He sleeps most of the day these days. One of my clients is going through the loss of her dog, and my own awareness of my pup allows me to drop into this complete embodied empathetic stance for what my client is going through because we are connected through our shared experience. And so, to your point of this authenticity really draws people in. I like to celebrate the messiness. I like to celebrate the dumpster fires because, it is a disservice to humanity to pretend that there is a fully realized person. The top of the mountain's lonely, weird, and cold. and, and when you're down with the people in the village, that's where there's fire, that's where there's dancing, that's where there's celebration, that's where there's love. And I think ultimately that's what this industry is all about.
Agreed. So hard. And I think we are very much, in this phase of the journey of online marketing and coaching the industry as a whole, where a lot of the veneer, I think, has been, we're just tired of it. It's like we're tired of the Instagram model perfection type image. We want something that's real and honest and authentic. And so the people that are able to show up and share and give from that place, those are the people that are really standing out and paradoxically are actually doing so much better in many cases than the folks who are trying to present this perfect thing that doesn't actually even really exist.
No, and it's exhausting. And
It is exhausting.
I
Yeah, it's
mean,
much easier to be you.
it is so much easier to be you. This is a great note to end on. Jason, this was the best conversation. Thank you so much for joining me. Um, you know, out racing air all day. Well, keep it keep it going. I will be out in your neck of the woods for our Lumia retreat. We'd love to see you. Come have fun with our community. Tune in.
I would love that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It sounds like it's going to be an amazing experience.
It'll be a super great day. And where can folks find you?
Yeah, so my website, jasonmoss.com, jasonmoss.com is a good place to start. We've got all sorts of information about our offers, our social media accounts, everything that we're up to is going to be there. And I would definitely encourage you to also connect with me on social media, Instagram or Facebook, and say hello. And I love to hear from folks. So let me know what resonated and tell me what kind of work you're up to in the world. I'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. 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 And we'll put all the links in the bio so that folks can tune in, connect, become friends, build community, and all that good stuff. Jason, take great care, and I'm sure that we'll see you on Everything Life Coaching in the future.
Thanks for listening to Everything Life Coaching. If you're feeling the draw to become a coach, head to lumiacoaching.com/everything. Explore a new career that brings fulfillment, gives you a true sense of purpose, and a bold community to do it with.
Lumia is ready to equip you with the tools, training, and community you will need to reach your goals. If you're ready to build a unique coaching business on your own terms while making an impact on the world at large, Lumia is the next bold step in your coaching journey. That's lumiacoaching.com/everything.
And hey, if you're waiting for a sign, this is it.